Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but this is what the print version looked like. I'm just grabbing issues. This was April 2021. Julie Straczynski, Director of Construction in Florida Core. I know she's moved on to a convenience store chain, but we thank her for being on the cover. And I always like holding the magazine. This one was 144 pages. Let's see what I was doing. Oh, I was water skiing up on the lake. And that's me, before I went out and did some hightails on the slalom. But as a print face-to-face guys for all those years, it was great. But I went digital in August of 2021 and haven't looked back since. Don't miss the printer, don't miss the post office. And it's just been an amazing ride going digital. Had 4.6 million people hit my website in for the month of September. And I'll probably go over 40 million for 2024. So for all of you out there, thank you so much for finding us on the web, via Google, or wherever you found us, consuming our content. And, you know, couldn't done it without you. So you're all gold in my eyes. It's TGIF today. And listen, I'm down here in Atlanta. It's been a mentally draining last 2 weeks. We had Helene come in from Big Bend in the Panhandle, went 600, almost 700 miles inland. Uh, just whacked everything in its track, made it up through South Georgia, took out all the crops, everything else, came into Atlanta, flooding, a million people out without power. I'm building my empty nester house up on Lake Lanier. I just started my framing, knocked down the whole front porch and the frame, so I had to, rebuild and pick up the pixie sticks. And then it went up into Western Carolina and Eastern Tennessee and just dumped a ton of rain. And I had rain right before that, and it looked like an atomic bomb went off there. I saw a Google shot of from the southeast, from basically Western Carolina, and it's just unbelievable what happened. And we just had a lean come in yesterday and hit the western side of Florida. So listen, all my prayers and thoughts are for all those fellow citizens down there that from the first storm that we're still cleaning up from and getting back to normalcy, and now the western side of Florida. And I know that there's another one out there. I think it's called Nadine. Hopefully she'll stay out to sea, but it's just been mentally draining. I got friends and clients and family in all of these areas. And you know, Asheville in Western Carolina is only about a 3 hour ride for me. Been up there multiple times, held plenty of events. It's a great ride if you're a motorcycle guy. Awesome ride up through the mountains. But just utter devastation. And we're trying to help. We just took down some blankets and tarps and some chainsaws to one of our buds. It's a pilot, and they're doing deliveries into the Asheville airport. And we're just doing our best what we can. So just keep your thoughts and prayers for all these people, because it's just been a mind draining, mental drain over the last 2 weeks. But beautiful day out here in North Georgia. Can't complain. Ball is in the air. I can't believe I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I got Georgia on because I live here. So Georgia, it's football day. SEC Kings down here in the South. I don't even know who they're playing tomorrow, but in any event, it's just been a wild ride. Looking forward to the weekend and relax and recharging. And before you know it, it's going to be Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then the holidays, and we're going to close out 2024. We only have 11 TGIFs to go, and we're going to welcome in the new year in 2025. So, with that said, I've got a nice gentleman way out on the West Coast in British Columbia in Vancouver, and he's in concrete, and his name is Jeff Bowman, and he's with Kryton International. Jeff, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hello, glad to be here.
Thanks, Jeff, for being our guest. And listen, Jeff's publicist reached out to me and wanted to be a guest and had seen the our show. And the reason why I wanted Jeff on here is because I just did my foundation. I was dealing with concrete, and it was my wife's an interior contractor, but we had never done a ground up. So when we bought the land back in 2020, I told us, look, whenever we build, we're going to do it ourselves and act as the contractor. We need it for her portfolio. And so I dealt with the concrete. I learned about slurry and the test and all that stuff. So it was a learning experience for me. And when Jeff came in about concrete, I was like, oh, I just went through this. I'm going to have this individual on. So, uh, Jeff, the way we're going to work your interview is this episode. We do it in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you went to school, where you grew up, played any sports and all that good stuff, and how you ended up where you are today. Then we'll talk about the last 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on, let alone the last 2 weeks if you're down here in the Southeast of the United States. And any cool projects that you've done or any innovative products that you see coming down the pike as we go into 2025. And then you'll leave one positive thought and your contact info for our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I guess I'll start. I was born in British Columbia, so born and raised out here on the West Coast. I actually grew up in a town called Port Alberni, which is on Vancouver Island. So if you come out to BC, there's kind of a big island just off the coast.
Hmm.
Just a little quieter pace and scene out there, right? You have to take the ferry
Yeah, I
to
got to
get
take
over
the
there.
ferry.
So, and the people who live out there like it that way, right? Being a little disconnected from the mainland and all the hustle and bustle over here. So I grew up there, very outdoorsy lifestyle. I was a Boy Scout. My dad was in the troop, so we got to spend a lot of time together. Doing hiking and backpacking and some canoe trips. There's some really amazing places to go canoeing around on the island there. So, that was kind of the growing up experience. But I had to move to Vancouver to go to school, or at least to go to university. I was taking chemistry out there, which is maybe a little bit of a different background than a lot of people you'd run into in the concrete field. There's a lot of engineering backgrounds. Obviously, the job we have here on admixtures and repair materials, there's kind of a chemistry component and formulation component. So maybe kind of brings a little unique or different aspect compared to some of the other colleagues in that I would have. But that brought me out here to Vancouver. I was going to the University of British Columbia, doing my studies. And I guess at that point, one thing that really took up a lot of time is in my first year, Buddy and I we were looking for some club to join or some activity to do, and there was a big little session, right, where all the school student clubs come out, trying to create new members, and there was like this fencing club, like so the sword fighting club basically. We're like, well, that might be all right. We actually went there were two clubs. There was like the Kendo club, the Japanese sword fighting and the European style forts sword fighting. So we're trying to think, oh, maybe we'll try one of these. But we went to the Kendo club and they're very like traditional, right? They're like, no, you got to practice like footwork for 6 months before you get your sword. And we're like, we kind of want to like beat each other up now. So the fencing club was like, here's your sword. Let's go. So I actually did fencing for a long time. Like I went to eventually got connected with another club, went to a lot of tournaments. And part of the reason I tell the story is like, when I was growing up, like I was always pretty tall, right? And good fitness for like hiking and whatnot. But I'll admit, not the most coordinated person if I'm trying to play like hockey or soccer or anything that requires precision. Whereas it turns out if you give like kind of a tall, awkward person a sword, they become really dangerous. So I'm like, I think I found my sport here. So still, I spent a lot of time going to tournaments. There's some really great fencing clubs down the I-5, down towards Seattle and Portland. So, we get together with the teammates. We travel down there all the time, do the tournaments, travel throughout Canada, go out east or something, down to the United States a few other times. That was a lot of fun, right? I know it's maybe a sport that a lot of people aren't that familiar with, but I don't know if you saw maybe some of it during the Olympics. It's way more intense when you put the mask on, right? And you have that opponent just a few feet away from you, and you're jostling for position. So,
Well,
uh,
fencing, it looks like it's all footwork because you've got to have position to strike. I'm in Taekwondo. I'm a first degree black belt. So we
yeah,
learned
oh yeah, yeah,
weapons and all that. So I totally understand where you're coming from. But being a tall guy, you have the reach if you're, going against someone that's a little shorter than you, but position and it's kind of like all those sports, you know, all rolled up in one because you got to have a strategy, you got to have position, and you got to know when to strike and when to, I guess, back up or play defense. Correct?
Yeah, no, it's all positioning and back and forth, right? And just it's way more of a mental game than maybe people realize, like trying to set up your opponent to do a certain thing. Sometimes you want them to attack you, right? You're trying to give a little opening, right? And the better your opponent is, the smaller that opening can be. Because if you make it too obvious, they know you're trying to set them up for some sort of second intention. But one thing I really enjoyed though is when we'd be maybe doing a tournament. We'd be hosting a tournament out here, and there'd be a youth event where some kids doing it. They're 10 or 11 or 12 years old. And in between the matches, they can take the mask off. And you get to see on their face, like they're just so into it, like they're feeling that intensity you feel when you're competing. And I'm like, all right, this kid gets it.
Yeah.
But
Hey, sports are addicting. I always liked talking to athletes or people that played sports that have made the transition to to business because they understand about pain, no gain. You're gonna win, you're gonna lose. You don't lose, you learn. And so you can apply it to later. And then when you get into the business world, which is vicious, in my opinion, you're prepared. You've got thick skin. And so I always like talking about athletes and all, whatever it might be, whatever sport that they're in, because they all can take what they've learned uh and apply it to their general thing. Let me ask you a question. You said you were in the Boy Scouts, in Canada. Do they have Webelos there and Cub Scouts, or is it just Boy Scouts?
there's a bunch of different levels. Like they start out at like beavers is what they call it, but just the little
Oh,
ones.
Beavers.
And you kind of move up to like scouts and venturers. So there's different levels as you climb up the ranks.
Yeah. The only reason I say that because I was a Webelo and I did Boy Scouts. My dad was an Eagle Scout, and listen, I'm 61 years old. Back in the day, everybody did Cub Scouts, Webelos. You went into Boy Scouts, and uh, I'm a coach here for in lacrosse for the rec league and stuff. And some of the people that the kids that I've coached over the years, only so many of them did Webelos and Boy Scouts. But the ones that did, I said, listen, you're very select. Becoming an Eagle Scout is just an amazing achievement because you learn leadership, you learn how to live on the land. You just learn all of these things that other people don't. It's like being a black belt. I'm in a select club, so being what you did there in the Boy Scouts up in BC, it's probably set up the same way, just
Yes,
different
fairly
names.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that's very, very cool because you don't a lot of people today they don't do that stuff. They rather put it on their video thing where, I was trying to light a fire out in the rain. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. We've got my daughter's in guides now, girl guides, and still great organization, right? She's met lots of kids, great leaders. They get them outside, do some stuff. So no, I'm really glad that she's doing that as well. Similar activities.
So you were a fencer in college, you were in the club. Take us through there to where you are at Kryton today.
Yeah, so I was one of the opportunities I had at school was a co-op program, right? So you could take some time off from your studies, go out and do some work, and try and gain some experience, see what kind of things you like to do. So, as it turns out, one of my co-op programs was actually with Kryton. So I've actually been here. I've been here a long time, bit of an old timer. I know that's not lots of people kind of move around a lot more, but everybody's got their own path. And so I actually started out here as a co-op student, and I had some other co-op jobs in other industries, and they had some pros and cons. But it was just a good feeling, coming here. It's a good company. They treat their people well. Not too big. It's not too small. You kind of know people. And, you can talk to the company president. You can get her ear. Kind of see how things are going. They're open to feedback. And so after my term was ended, I had to go back to school, finish up my studies, and I was kind of like, hey, would you be interested in, would I maybe be able to come back here when I graduated? And they're like, oh, well, contact us and see how it goes. And that's just how it worked out. I graduated. I came back to work here right away. Now, as it turns out, they don't do that for everybody. There must have been something about me that they liked back in the day. But even then, like I've been here long enough, the company's changed quite a bit over that time. So when I came in, my first job with Kryton was actually more as a paint formulator. The company's product line was really quite diverse, right? In addition to the concrete admixtures and the waterproofing and all the concrete repair materials, we actually still made a lot of paint. So exterior paints and acrylics and epoxy floor coating. So that was my main job, right? Was a paint formulator and QC. And I actually really liked working with paint a lot, right? You can do a lot to the formulation, try and get different properties. But so I actually did that for many years. Now, as the company was evolving, it was really more the waterproofing additives and the crystalline material was kind of the unique technology that the company had. So, they made the decision that they were gonna, you know, stop making some of the paints and sell off that technology and formulations to others. But those were most of the job that I was doing was on these products. So, I had to have that moment like, oh, wait, what's happening to me now? So they came to me and they're like, "Oh, do you like concrete? Do you like waterproofing?" I'm like, "I do now." So I kind of had to make that transition on the fly, right? Starting to move over to the waterproofing products, and that also coincided with the transition to, more field work. Go out to the projects, go out to the field, see how things are being done, which is really where you learn a lot, right? You can look at a product and how it's supposed to be installed on paper, and then going out to see the real world and the conditions and the challenges that the concrete, people are facing and dealing with. And it kind of gives you like a new perspective on how do these products need to work, right? You can't just make products that work. They need to work under less than ideal conditions, and so that kind of changed a lot of just kind of a lot of the focus on how we wanted to approach the materials and the formulations and how we go to market. And so from there, the job just continues, evolving, right? I've since moved up to technical director, which involves a little bit of everything, right? So in addition to working with, our salespeople and their customers on projects and consulting and, you know, training and working with our contractors, but there's also still a lot of, research and R&D, trying to make the products better, trying to stay on top of, the changing regulations, especially around climate change. There's a big focus on if you're in concrete construction, everybody's talking to you about CO2 emissions and what can we do to make the industry greener. So just trying to meet kind of the needs and expectations of those customers, in addition to manufacturing and quality control. So that's really kind of the job here, right? It's a little bit of everything.
I walk, I've been walking World of Concrete for a long, long time. I'm sure Kryton had a booth there, if I'm correct. Kryton's got a
Yeah,
booth there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
We're
yeah,
often up
listen.
there.
I
Yeah,
mean, listen. It's anybody who is anybody in concrete is there, and walked it, many, many a time over the years. And the big thing about concrete, people like here in the States when they built the inner, in World War II and whoever the president was, they built the interchanges of all the highway and all the building. It's just been an amazing transformation over the last, oh, I don't know, 100 years as they've gotten into, better materials, better technology, how to get it to cure quicker. And without concrete, listen, it's just like my house. Nothing can be done until the foundation is in there. And learning how to apply it with rebar and all that stuff. It, uh, concrete is an absolute necessity. And depending on where you are, like here, I lucked out. I did it before the storm came in. We poured and we had to put the footings in, the retaining walls, and then they did my slab. And, but the guys that we were dealing with, just like you, he kind of was in concrete from very, very young. His dad was in it, and then he got and started his own firm. And uh, I had to, I was only worried about the inspection process. He's like, "Oh no, no, we use third party, and we come in." And I was going up there asking all these questions and learning all this stuff. And but uh, it is such a cool gig to see when they come in, they pour it, they smooth it. One of my buds came up to look at my build yesterday, and he goes, "Oh, I can't believe how smooth your concrete is." And it all depends on what contractor you get, to apply, when they're pouring it and forming it, and it's artwork as far as I'm concerned. Just like everything that I've seen, clearing the land, getting it prepped, doing the foundation. We just finished our framing. I get all this lumber delivered, and then you got the housing in there. And I was just looking at it yesterday when they finished. I was like, God, this is just amazing what skilled labor can do. And everybody can have the tools, but it's what you do with those tools and your knowledge of how to apply it. And if you do it every day, every week, every month, and you learn something new every day and you improve, you become an expert at it. But like I said, it was a big nut, to build my house when you look at your budget and you want to make sure everything is done right and you don't want any cracks and that stuff's going to happen. But one of my buds, he was building up on the lake on his project and we watched it. Yeah, he was doing videos on Facebook and so forth. And he came up and he goes, I can't believe how smooth your concrete is. I'm like, I know. When I went up and they finished it, I did my video and I said, oh, God, this is as smooth as a baby's butt. It is unbelievably how smooth it is. And if it's not smooth, hey, you do your flooring or whatever. You have it's just artwork. And it's really cool to see the skilled labor that does that stuff. So, like I said, when I got the press release from your publicist and I saw you're in Congress, I was right in that kind of mode of getting it done. Like, oh no, I'm going to have this person in here because I'm dealing with it.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting actually for concrete, right? Because everybody's familiar with concrete, right? We walk on it, we drive on it, we use it every day. Lots of people don't know really anything about it. They don't about the materials. Well, they call it cement for one, right? They're not quite clear the
Right.
difference between cement and concrete. But even just the industry itself, right? A lot of our main customers are the concrete companies because we sell additives to them, to put in the concrete. And so I think a lot of people don't really see the perspective that the concrete industry, it's as much a service industry as it is a material science industry. Yes, they're making the concrete and they have to get the formulations right, but they also need to deliver that material and they're on the clock, right? Because you've only got maybe 90 minutes to batch it and get it out of the truck and before you can use it. So you're delivering it on time through traffic. There's a lot of challenges. So they're also as much a trucking industry, or a transportation industry. So the kind of these three main features, trucking, service, and then the material science it's an important part, but it's only a portion of what they need to do. So trying to do anything you can to make their life easier, right? They're really an industry that is difficult to, handle disruptions during the pour. The other thing I'll make a really kind of press on people is whenever you're building something, right? Your lumber, comes from the yard. It's been inspected. You know what you're getting. Same for your steel. It all comes to a factory specification. It might have a label or a certificate of analysis to tell you what it is. Concrete's the only vital material that we manufacture in place the day it's made, right? You wouldn't go set up your beams and pour steel beams or anything live on the job site. So it's really vital to get it right, you know. And even, talking about getting, the concrete nice and smooth, you want to make sure it can't just look smooth on the surface. It's got to be solid and compacted all the way through. And so the good contractors will get that compacted, solid, no voids, no problems. If you don't get that level of workmanship, it might look nice on the surface, but what are you getting underneath? So absolutely having people who are really familiar with the material and how it handles and how to get the most out of it is is really critical.
I think that the transportation point from the time that they make it and mix it, get it into the cement truck, the pumper's waiting for it at the project. They got to get it, like you said, they got to navigate traffic, and it's a timing issue because you don't want to waste that load because that's just wasted material. And it was bizarre because I did the permitting process so I could learn it in the county, and they didn't tell me about third-party inspection. So when they did my footings and they finished all of that, I got an email from my concrete contractor, and he goes, "Hey, David, we finished this stuff. We're pouring in the morning." And I was like, "Matt, you can't. I got to get it inspected by the county. I got to call for the inspection." He's like, "Oh, no, no, we use third party." I was like, "Third party? I know what it is, but they never told me they did third party." "Oh, no, no, it's a new law they did back in 2020, blah, blah, blah." And I said, well, I got to call the county, make sure. Not that I don't believe you and so forth. And he goes, listen, I'm running a concrete company. I can't wait for the county that says, oh, I'm going to be there between 8 and 12. I can't run a company like that. So when they passed the law and we just took advantage of it, now I can hey, I get the inspection done. I can get all the big jobs done in the morning. And then I can come back in the afternoon and do the smaller jobs like your footings and stuff. But when I pour your slab, we're going to come up there in the morning. It's going to be a 4 or 5 hour ordeal. I think I had 8 to 10 trucks when, that came up and did the slab and but oh my God, I mean this crew, they were awesome. And I had seen all the demos over the years at World of Concrete, so I kind of knew what the process was, but watching it because it was my project. I had, it was my money I was spending. So it was so interesting to see just they knew exactly what, they'd done a day in and day out. And I'm sure, like any construction project, you're going to have obstacles, things, speed bumps that are going to come up. But that time factor, you're so right. That is mixed that day, and you got to get it to there, and you're on the clock. And if you don't make it, it's just that's where your profits and your profit's going to be minimalized if you don't get it there and you have a wasted batch and so forth. So I really didn't think about that until you just said that. I knew about it, but it kind of it came in. It's like being a skier. Hey, in the morning the powder is great, but in the afternoon and spring skiing it gets slushy and it's not the same way. It's the same thing with concrete.
Yeah, and the ready mix company, like if you're doing a big pour, they're actually making minor adjustments to their mix, to their admixture, to the water content throughout the day, as the moisture content of their aggregates are changing and the temperature is changing. And, on a long pour, if it's going over many hours, they always have to be adapting, to those conditions. And that goes unseen. That should go unseen by the contractor.
Yeah. Well, I was just one of these inquisitive people. I told everybody when we hired them, I said, look, we never, and these are portions that we know we do basement renovate. My wife does renovations, kitchen, basements, add-ons, but never ground up. So I told her, so look, we'll go learn that and we'll be a pain in the butt with all these subs that we're going to hire because we never done it. So uh, we found someone. But the coolest thing was like I found my concrete guy from my grader. They'd done all these projects, and I just found out that you want to meet everybody at the municipality, so you know how the permitting's going, and anything comes up, there's any issues, you get their cell phone, their email, but if you find the guys that are locally, they probably have done so many projects together, and getting that referral to say, hey, look, use these guys, they know everybody, and they all know everybody, and they know that so that's how I found them, because you can go online and Google and people sponsor themselves and they say they're the greatest things in sliced bread. But I went on my grader, my grader's like, hey, you Seminole, those guys kick butt. They've done probably this whole neighborhood and they're going to get it done and they're going to get it done right the first time and you'll have no worries. And then, like I said, then I didn't know about the third party. And then after I found out about, I called the county the chief building official and I said, hey, Brandon, what's the deal? I've been through all the permitting. You never told me about third party. Well, you pay for your permitting with your permits, the inspection and stuff. I said, yeah, but he goes, yeah, David, we get there the next day. I said, yeah, but you're like the cable company. You say I'm going to be there between 9 and 5. I can't stay up there all day waiting for it. I need a window, of maybe an hour or two because I'm doing other stuff. And so I called the inspector, the third party inspector. I said, hey, Russell, do you do, I need plumbing, mechanical, and electrical done as well. Do you do all those other inspections? Yeah, I go, you're hired because I don't want to wait for the county. I want to get this stuff done. It's because I'm running my magazine and everything else, and I got to run back and forth from my office up to the project, or my wife has to. And I don't want to have to babysit people. I want to make sure that they're up there getting things done, or and leave them, and then come up and see the finished product. So it was a learning experience for me. But like I said, it was a big nut on our budget. And if you don't want to have to go back and crack the concrete, or that's like the electricians and the plumber. They've got to get in there before you pour the slab, so they have all that stuff in there. And the last thing you want to do is go crack concrete. So. And it's an art. Like I said, it's artwork to me. You're mixing, paint or concrete, the additives, and then you got to have, depending on what the weather is that day and your window, traffic, it's got to be, it's probably never a dull day in a concrete mixer life.
No, I've been on projects where they're doing a big pour, like thousands of cubic yards, like a big raft slab, and the concrete superintendent, like he's amped up, like he's ready to go. He's excited. They've been preparing for weeks. Everything's lined up. They're still finishing the rebar at the far end of the slab. Like it's an intense environment for sure, especially on those bigger projects.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about 4 years ago, 2020, March, everything gets shut down across the world. And talk about lessons learned of how you weathered the storm of, some people, oh, it's going to be a couple weeks and it's a couple months. Here we are 4 years later. We're still talking about it. We're out of the tunnel, but there's, speed bumps, hindrances, and obstacles that we've all had to go through. And talk about some of the lessons learned of how you handled weathered the storm and came out of it, as well as any new products that you see or things that people, if they're going to do projects and use concrete that they might not know of that might be applicable.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, certainly when the roller coaster started, I mean, yeah, it's almost surreal kind of looking back to just how much uncertainty there was of what was going to go on, and every jurisdiction was handling it a little bit differently. And of course, a lot of the issues were popping up in construction. Lots of, workers working side by side, and they were bringing in, or at least around here, they were bringing in protocols to clean and disinfect your tools every day before you went. And I remember, you know, and then of course, a lot of people here started to work from home or have different arrangements. I only did that for a short period of time before I was able to come back to the office. But of course, our manufacturing plant, I mean, when your job is to make something and put it in a bucket, you can't work from home. So they were still coming in. And right around the time things started to get really strange, I remember sitting down, our CEO, had brought in a couple of beers of like a Friday. Everybody had a beer. We're like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. And she said, well, Jeff, you've been here a long time. Don't worry, you'll be one of the last people that we lay off if it comes to that. But fortunately, it didn't. We kept everybody working, kept everybody going. One of the things that they implemented fairly quickly was kind of like a little group chat over Zoom. We just taken on Zoom as like our main communications tool, and it actually really helped, right? Because all of a sudden, a lot of people who were normally seeing each other in the office, we just weren't there. We weren't having that FaceTime. We've got people in offices around the world who often we don't get to see unless it's some sort of special meeting coming in. So every week we just all meet on Zoom, like everybody in the company, just a quick little chat, just talk about how things were going. And I think it really kind of helped carry everybody through through that most disruptive phase, right? Because it gave us a way to get together and just see each other and talk and share experiences, things that were going well, keep the positivity up a little bit. It affected us in other ways too. It used to be easy, for either me or one of our field techs to just show up at a job site and, hey, can I have a look at what you're doing? Can I inspect some of the products and see if we have any problems? And all of a sudden we couldn't just show up on a construction site, right? They had a lot more rules and protocols. You needed to arrange it. So it just made it harder for us to service our customers, right? Now, I guess if there's a silver lining that comes out of that is we got a lot better and more proficient at doing things remotely if we needed to. Like, hey, we'll set up some cameras in our laboratory. We can do a product demo, show how to mix it, what it should look like, apply a little test patch in front of you, show you some things to look out for. But once you're set up to do that efficiently, well, now we can do that for anybody, right? Whether they're anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the US, anywhere around the world on pretty quick notice, right? We don't need to plan a trip to go out to see them. And so that actually kind of expands your reach quite a bit. So we'll still try to go out in person or arrange a distributor or one of our partners to join people on site whenever we can. But if somebody kind of wants to hear from the horse's mouth, get the manufacturer's support on how to use these products, we can almost it's almost like you can parachute in anywhere and provide that support. So and maybe without that roller coaster, we might not have gotten to that same place. So I guess we'll take that for what it is.
You know, I had Zoom before. I had a digital magazine before, but I kind of ignored it. But I think of all the people that I've talked to, I had just bought my mic. I was going to do my podcast on construction sites and interview people. That's what I had planned. And then everything went kaput. So I just started doing them. And the coolest thing that I think after the last 3 or 4 years, everybody I've talked to, they could have been end users, architects, engineers, contractors, vendors, what have you, that they all said that they found out so much about their business themselves. There was more to life than work, but using technology like this, that you could actually, instead of driving 3 hours that look at something that's going to take 5 minutes, you could use technology to its advantage. And then now, the pendulum, swings back and forth. This is not going away because now you can pick and choose where you want to go, where it's important that you have to go actually see something in person, where you might be able to, like you said, parachute in and use technology and use the best use of your time from a project management point of view. And It's just been amazing. And some of the people through this whole debacle, and now we're out of the tunnel, and like I said, there's still some speed bumps. You got inflation and this and that, but so many companies and people that I've talked to, they've said, we had some of the best years. We could have done more projects if we could have found, superintendents and project managers, et cetera. But you always don't want to bite off more than you can chew because you want to be able to deliver. And uh, it's just been, and they found out that, hey, you can use technology and still maintain your company culture. And now everybody, and with the introduction of AI, which was there before, but now it's just that, it's out of the tube, and it's just, it's been a very essential to helping, especially in construction, in my opinion, that it made things keep on moving, the momentum forward. And you're not the only one. Like you said, you can parachute in, you could have that, and then, instead of getting in your car an hour and a half, you could just do that demo, or hey, you need to do this. And it's a positive. I always look making positive, just like the storms that hit here a couple, the last 2 weeks. And the biggest thing is that, hey, look, there's been some destruction. My light just fell. We've been in some destruction, but now you have a chance to improve the product. And the funny thing was that the other day I had my roofer up there, and the storm that just came in, Milton, it had 180-mile-hour winds, and he was showing me this shingle for the roof. I said, Jordan, the winds down there are 180. You're showing me the shingle that's 150. This thing, you guys have to come up with a shingle worth that can handle 300-mile-hour winds. Same thing with the storm surge. Figure out how to lift that house up or whatever, because people shouldn't have to leave their homes and worry about their house still being there. So this is such an opportunity for the construction building materials part of a phase to come up with all these new innovations to figure out a way as they rebuild and recover that they can find at things. Technology has come so far over the last 50, 100 years. You look back to where we are and where we are today. Why can't we build those things? And, things back in then were built to last. Now things are built to break. And, I've been preaching every day. I will run 5 to 7 miles. So I've been doing an ebook every year. But I've said over the last couple of my videos, I said, look, you OEMs out there, you guys have to figure this out. This is your opportunity. You've got all these homes that have to be rebuilt, or roofs, or whatever was destroyed, and find out ways that you can, when Mother Nature comes in, which you can't control, and find out how you can deal with it and battle it and still be standing the next morning. You know where I'm coming from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about what cool products you see, coming down the pike as we finish up Q4 and go into 2025.
Yeah. Well, I think just the way the where the industry's going now, right? There's so much push to, monitor not only the performance of our concrete, but the environmental impact of our concrete. So it's really being scrutinized more than ever, right? On one hand, the industry is trying to be very efficient on the decisions they make. And historically, in the concrete industry, it was always really easy to just put more cement in your concrete, right? And get really good properties and really good strength. And now not everybody can go that direction, right? Because it's adding to the environmental impact of that concrete, so they're trying to be more efficient. So we're definitely seeing a kind of a renewed push and renewed interest around admixtures in concrete to enhance the properties, right? You can reduce the permeability, we can waterproof it. Um, we have a really innovative product that's for abrasion and erosion. It's kind of the only one of its kind. So for high wear environments where there's a lot of vehicles or traffic, anything that's going to wear that concrete and start to wear out your cover zone that protects the reinforcement. And so it's kind of, there's lots of new, and innovative materials that can be used to, maintain and promote the durability of that concrete, even as we're also trying to make it more efficient. Like that's a hard thing to do, right? We want to make something more durable, but also, lessens its impact, right? It's when, certainly we've worked on projects here where we got one of our products and we're trying to make some improvements to it. We're thinking, hey, can we improve this property? Can we make it set faster? Can we make it more resilient or easier for a contractor to install? Oh, well, let's see if we can reduce the price a little bit at the same time. So, And we're kind of trying to do that now on the concrete side for the performance and the environmental impact. And I think more and more admixtures are going to be a part of it because they can have a really big impact on the performance for a pretty small environmental cost, right? When you break it down that way. So a lot of what we're doing now is just trying to get the word out, educational seminars and lunch and learns and other webinars just make architects and the designers aware of the different options they have, and how they can integrate them into their projects and where they might find use. So I think there's actually just a lot of education, to do right now.
So, if someone was out there on a commercial construction coffee talk and they've got a project and they might have, maybe they want to add some color or they have an issue, maybe, they're, in kind of like a Vancouver atmosphere where, they've got summer heat and then they've got, really cold temperatures and there's expansion with that, and just, retraction in their materials and they wanted to reach out to you to bounce some questions off you because you're knowledgeable of chemistry and everything else that goes into it. How would someone reach out to you?
Well, certainly you can always reach out, come visit our website, at Kryton.com. We got lots of information out there, lots of literature, guides, and brochures. You can just call our phone number. If you're heard me on this podcast and you're curious, the switchboard will put you right through to me off our main line. We've also got lots of partners and distributors, maybe more in your area, who can give you more direct questions if you're looking for product or service, something a little more direct. And then if they need assistance, of course, they'd reach out to me. So we really try to take that team approach.
Awesome. So if you're out there, commercial construction coffee talk listeners out there, and you're working on a project or you're a newbie, well, I've been in construction. My family's been in recycling since 1888. So I grew up in construction. I stole my erector set, and all the grandsons had to go into the scrap yard. And when you got your license at 16, so I've done the welding, laid railroad tracks, shoveled asbestos, demolition, did all that stuff. So I get it. Uh, but from a just in general, if you're out there and you got a project and you maybe have some questions and so forth, Kryton, Kryton, correct? So they get the spelling right, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, just want to make sure out there. Uh, so reach out. And if you get, connect with Jeff, great. And like you say, you might have a local guy that can come out and talk to you. But listen, concrete's a very important part in any construction project, which I just found out just with my own build. Let alone in the commercial sector, where whether you're building a retail store, a shopping center, a healthcare, craft brew, whatever it might be, there's going to be concrete involved if it's a new build. So. If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. And once again, Jeff's publicist sent me a press release. I looked at it. I was just doing my concrete foundation. So like, oh, cool. I want to have this person on. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. And now that I'm digital, we post stuff all day long. And they just sent me a press release, to, hopefully I would put it someplace. Very tough to get in the magazine, but send me something. And it could be a new product announcement. It could be an anniversary for your company. It could be a project profile that you've done. Let us judge the book by its cover. Send it to me. Our turnaround time's normally about 48 to 72 hours. I've got two nice ladies that post for me all day, and we send you the URL. We want you to share it. It's good for your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, so people can find you on Google, and it's a win-win. So, and we look, I'm addicted to data, now that I'm a digital guy. I just love seeing stuff and learning. The day you stop learning is the day you should go do something else. So, send it to me. We'll look at it and we'll find a place for it on one of the platforms that we're working on. Um, so, uh, Jeff, as we finish up here, what positive thought or phrase would you like to leave with our listeners as we, go into the third week of Q4 and, ending the year out and going into 2025?
Yeah. Well, I'll just leave it at the top of the show here. You were saying, it's TGIF, and you were kind of lining up the schedule for the rest of the year with Halloween and Thanksgiving. But up here in Canada, we do it in the reverse order.
Yeah, I
Our
know.
Thanksgiving is
Yeah.
actually this weekend, so we're gearing up for it this weekend. So. We'll be getting together with a little bit of family, roasting some birds, and just having a good time. So everybody up here in Canada, have a good Thanksgiving. Down in the US, I know you've got a little ways to go, but I hope you have a great Thanksgiving as well when the time comes. So despite everything, on the roller coaster and everybody's working hard, just don't forget to spend some good quality time with your family when you have the opportunity. So that's what I'm going to do this weekend. I hope everybody else can as well.
Hey, listen, happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadians up there. And, definitely, spend time with family and friends. I just tell people, like, hey, listen, live in the moment. You just don't know what's coming down the pike. And, my wife comes in and she was going on her site and she's like, give me a kiss. And I was busy, doing, getting stuff done. And she's like, look, I'm not, you don't even know if I'm going to come back. I'm like, you're coming back. You know what I mean? And we just went through these storms and stuff. I'm like, come here, let me give you the peck. And she goes, no, 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 real kiss. And I was like, okay, there you go. She goes, yeah, isn't that nice? And
Well,
so, what were you going to say?
it's just you were talking about your rescue dogs earlier. Well, about a year ago, we got a couple of rescue kittens, right? And there's a good organization here in Vancouver. And so they're fully grown now. It's been a year. And my daughter, she's 9, she's like, Daddy, they grow up so fast. And I'm like, you're one to talk. You've been doing that since the day you were born.
Yeah, isn't that the truth, man? You feed them, they grow, and then
Yeah.
and it's never ending. My kid, he's a beast. He was a skinny little thing, 15, now he's 25, and he's a monster. So I get that, and my dogs, we feed them in the morning, we feed them, I get some good boy treats during the day, and but they know when it's dinner time, they protect the house, they let them someone know because they know that if they don't do their job, they're not going to get fed. It's just like you got to earn. Nothing's given, everything you got to earn it. So, a couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, have dinner with your family, friend, your pets, your kids, and be able to get up and do it the next day. Number two, you got to stay hydrated. Okay. Even though the cooler temperatures are coming in and old man winter is going to show his face here shortly, wherever you might be, you got to stay hydrated. The athlete in me, and Jeff will tell you as a fencer, when you get dehydrated, you get a headache, that's when accidents happen. So put some of those electrolytes in your water bottle or your cooler or whatever it might be. Stay hydrated, stay liquefied. Not only will you be better on the job site, but you're going to sleep better at night so you can go do it, and get up and do it the next day. And finally, hit the like button out there. All right. We want everybody to find this episode and the algorithms and be able to point it to Jeff and, so you can hear the Kryton concrete story. So, any final thoughts before we sign off? Other than
No,
Thanksgiving up in Canada?
yeah, no, just looking forward to the weekend and some turkey. Just this was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me
absolutely.
on.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, say goodbye from Vancouver.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, which is just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25, 30 miles north of downtown ATL. Everybody, have a great rest of the TGIF. And remember, if you don't have to work this weekend, relax, spend time with family and friends, smile, laugh, leave it all out there on the field because Monday's coming and then you got to do all over again. The time's just blowing by before you know it, the holidays, and we're going to be into the new year. And with that said, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Jeff, I haven't been up to Vancouver in a while, but if I do come up there, I'd love to go out and see one of your projects. Do we have a deal?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Come on
right.
down.
Awesome. I'm going to take you up on it because now you told me I have an open invitation, so that's great. So, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Have a great weekend and happy TJF. Cheers, everybody. See ya.